In today's lesson, we're going to make changes to a worksheet in Excel. The first thing you'll need to do is open up this document. It can be found in the M drive, so just go to Open, and then it's found in the M drive, Computer Apps, Ms. Johnson, Teacher Training Documents, and it's the one called Teaching Row Column Worksheet Manipulation. The first thing you're going to do is change column width. Notice that column E and column F have number signs, and the reason it's just appearing as a number sign is the column itself is not big enough to fit that entire number. One way to do that is to auto fit it. We're just going to double click in between. So between the F and the G now, when I have my cursor as a line with two arrows on it, I'm going to double click between it, and that changes the width of that column. If you want to change the width of between C and D, I could do the same thing. I could auto fit, or you can also click on it and drag. You can see as I drag over that the width size changes. You can do the same thing with rows, and you can change the height of them. The next thing we're going to do is insert a row. We're going to do this at the very top. You're going to click on row 1 because we're going to insert above that, and then you have your arrow facing to the right. You just right click and you'll say insert, and it inserts a row above wherever you were at. We're going to merge this entire row. So just like in Word when we merge table cells, we're going to highlight the cells we'd like to merge, and then you can see under alignment we have the option. We can say merge and center. Okay, now that we have that row merged, I actually am going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click between 1 and 2 and drag it so it's about the size of 2 rows. And I'm going to start typing in here. I'm going to write top movies. And then if I press Alt-Enter, it's going to allow me to have 2 rows of text on the same line. So show December 31st to January 2nd. The other way to merge something, if your area was smaller, let's say this cell here was too small, you could highlight that area and click on this wrap text option, and it will allow it to wrap within that range if your row is big enough. So if we click in here and we wrap it, make that a little bit bigger, it would all fit. Okay. I'm going to undo that because we don't need to actually have it that size. The next thing we're going to do is continue to clean up this document a little bit. A couple other sections that need to be enlarged. So I'm going to double click between G and H and double click between H and I. Make those bigger. We're also going to bold this row. So you go back to Home and just click on Bold. Next, we're going to align this so that our vertical alignment of each of these in the cell is centered. So we're going to click on the alignment options, and it actually brings this up here. We're going to go to vertical. We're going to say center, and then it centers it vertically on the page. If we want to do any other alignment, we could do left align, and you can also see other options right here where you can do top, center, or bottom alignment. Another thing we'd like to do is rename the worksheet. Right now it says Sheet 1. If we click on that, we can right click and say rename, and then we can call it Week 1. This is Week 1 of the year for top movies. We'll just click off of that, and then it's renamed. Another thing is if you want to add a header and footer. Right now you can see normal view. If you change it to page layout view, you then can see your header on the page. So I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to type in my name. You also could do this by going to Insert, and you could insert the header or footer. I'm going to click out of the header or footer, and you would be able to see that section. Now I could go to footer, and I could add other information into the footer. If I wanted to insert page numbers, number of pages, date, anything like that, I would do this in this header and footer section. Again, I'm going to close out of this. Another thing I want to show you is how you can keep the information when you scroll over. So when I scroll over, I want to see what number this was. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to click in the cell that is below the row that I want to freeze and to the right of the columns that I want to freeze. So I'm going to keep these columns here always in place and these rows up here always in place. You're going to go to View and you want to go to Freeze Panes. Now you'll notice that because I'm in Page Layout View, it will not allow me to do that. So I'm going to click on Normal View, and then I'm going to click on Freeze Panes, and I want to say Freeze Panes. Now when I scroll over, you can see that this always stays here no matter what. The other thing in page layout that I want you to change is the orientation to landscape. And you'll notice right now, if I were to print preview, you don't have to do this, just look at mine. My document's actually on 2 pages. I don't want it to be on 2 pages, so I'm going to close out of print preview. 2 ways to do this. One is I can set in page setup for this to fit to 1 page wide by 1 page tall. That's one way to do it. I'm going to click cancel so I don't do it there. Otherwise I can go to view, I can go to page break preview, and I can scroll that line over. So what I did, I'll undo that. I clicked in between that line when I had the double arrow. I scroll over to the right by moving it, and now it's set to 1 page. Go back to normal view. I can double check to see if everything looks the way I want it to. Okay, as I look at this, I see one thing here. This number, that's the title of the movie, and it's appearing as a number. I need to set that so it appears as text. So I'm going to highlight that cell just with the black line. I don't want to double click in it as if I'm typing, because notice that this area gets whited out. So I'm going to click off of it, click back on, and then I'm going to select text as an option. So I'm going to go to More Number Formats, click Text, and now it reads that as text versus a number.